I'm in a relationship with a guy who also works in tech. He makes $68K and I make $130K. I am a mechanical engineer at a robotics startup. He works at a more stable job doing programming at a large company. He brought me to meet his friends at a party and they asked me about myself. His friends mostly work in tech too and talked about themselves in terms of their jobs. I told them I'm a hiker, I do archery, I love road trips and camping and riding dirt bikes, etc. Basically talking about my hobbies because work is just a way to get paid to do the shit I love. It's not how I define myself, and it doesn't come to mind when someone wants me to tell them about myself. One of his friends asked about work and I said, oh gosh, I don't want to talk about work at a party. Spent my whole day sweating my ass off in 95-degree heat trying to replace this busted-ass motor just to find the replacement part was also screwed. I wasn't lying or trying to downplay that I have a good job. That really is how I spent my day, and I wasn't in the mood to talk shop at a party. Some other conversations came up casually that probably also made me seem poorer, like me saying that car dealership repairs were a ripoff, and telling my boyfriend that my childhood neighbor's trailer caught on fire and I was going to visit and help her out. I wasn't doing it on purpose, I was literally just talking about my life, but I guess I gave the impression I was poorer. It got later in the night, everyone was getting drunker, and some of his friends were making jokes about me growing up in a trailer and being a gold digger, and being ready to jump to a richer guy. Really misogynistic shit, honestly, since they don't even know me and seem to just assume all girls are good diggers. He didn't say anything. He later said it was because he'd smoked weed and gets quiet and has trouble carrying on a quick conversation when he's high. But regardless, I felt hurt he didn't say anything. I got irritated with his friends and asked, now why the hell would you say that when I make twice what he does? His friends went quiet for a second, and I continued saying, there ain't no gold to dig here, not with him or anyone at this party. So do y'all think I'm cheap, or do y'all think I'm stupid? My boyfriend wanted to leave the party shortly after, and he was pretty upset with me for telling everyone I make twice what he does. I said I would have held my tongue if he'd checked his friends himself. But he didn't say anything, so I wasn't about to let them talk to me like that. He said it was humiliating, and now everyone thinks I'm a bitch, and I flippantly said, at least they know I'm a rich bitch. He was angry. I embarrassed him when I spoke up. I was angry I had to say anything at all because his friends were talking shit, so it should be on him to check them. Stuff is still tense. Am I in the wrong for explaining why I'm not a gold digger? My husband and I have been together for 3 years. He has 3 kids from his previous relationship and I have 1. She's the oldest. He's a dedicated man, puts God first, and loves everyone. My husband always complains that my daughter doesn't spend time with her step-siblings or him, but she has reasons for that, and that is school, health issues, and work. She does her best to spend as much time with them as she can, but she on the other hand complains that her stepdad tells her to basically take on the role of a babysitter whenever she's with her step-siblings. My husband denied that and said that my daughter was making up excuses to not have to spend time with his kids. For this issue, I figured that a family trip is what the family needs to get together and spend more time around each other. My husband liked the idea, but said that his kids are now uncomfortable around my daughter because of her attitude, and suggested we let her stay home and have the house all to herself since that's what she always wanted. I told him it's best that we all go. He kept complaining till I snapped and told him to stop. I booked and paid for the whole family. However, my daughter told me she couldn't find her passport. We turned the house upside down looking for it, but couldn't find it. My husband said maybe it was a sign from God that we should let her stay home so the trip wouldn't turn into a disaster. I ignored his comment, but later while I was cleaning his office, I found the passport, tucked away in the 3rd drawer under a ton of papers. I was floored by this. I confronted him with it, and he swore he had no idea why or how the passport got there. I checked the upstairs camera and saw him enter my daughter's room. That was it for me. I screamed my head off at him, then canceled the whole trip completely. He started arguing, saying I overreacted, and that he didn't want his kids to be miserable on the trip, and that he is willing to apologize to my daughter if and when I reconsider my decision regarding the cancellation of the trip, because my stepkids will be devastated, but I said it was final and that it was done. He became cold and distant and said that he wants to take some time to do some fasting and get guidance from God about how he should deal with the disrespect and control I had displayed lately. Am I wrong for canceling it altogether? My graduation ceremony is being held next week. My dad had given me some money in advance to pay for the party. I live mostly with my mom, but they were supposed to be hosting the event together. Dad and I have a rocky relationship. After my parents divorced when I was 4, they split custody of me and he was able to stay a good dad. When I was 10, he met Jane. Jane had 3 kids, twins and a single kid. They got married when I was 12, but I would say even before that, I felt like he prioritized her kids over me a lot. He would cancel plans with me if they wanted to do something, and would either do the thing with them or force me to go and say it was even better than our plans, when for me it wasn't. Think going for a hike with me versus taking them to an indoor play area, or seeing a movie with me versus the kiddie park. One more example is when I was given a ticket for a concert my dad and I both love. He was supposed to buy a ticket to come with me for some father-son time, but actually spent it on his youngest stepkid who wanted their room painted. He told me at the last minute and it hurt. There are other times stuff like this has happened. He didn't show up at the hospital when I broke my arm because one stepkid was getting their tonsils out and wanted both him and his wife there. He told my mom over the phone to tell me he was proud of me for being brave and understanding, even though I never said that shit. When I would bring this stuff up to him, he'd tell me it was natural to feel jealous of sharing his attention. That was all he would say. In 2019, he told my mom he would split the cost of a trip I wanted to go on with one of my clubs, because she didn't have the money all by herself. Mom had her half saved. We told my dad he needed to pay. He said bills were tight, and it was the twins' birthdays, and the money needed to go on something for them. He told me we could do something as a family when the trip happened instead. I told him to forget it, that he was making it clear who was more important, and I was going to stay with my mom where I actually mattered. Mom borrowed money to cover the other half of the trip. Dad told me he regretted making me feel less important, and we were working on things, and then the graduation money was given about a month ago. Then a week ago he called and told me how one of the stepkids was being bullied, how bad of a time they're having it, and with that money they could help cheer them up for their birthday. I was pissed. I hung up. Then 2 days later I showed up at his doorstep, gave him the money and told him I didn't want to see him or his new family at my graduation, and that he had chosen who was more important, so he better stay out of my life. His stepkids and 2 younger biological kids were there. I didn't stick around. He called and told me we needed to talk it out like adults, and that I had hurt the kids' feelings. His wife freaked out on me, so I blocked her. Am I a jerk for how I handled this? My dad practically gave me up to his sister from the moment I was born. My mom died when she was giving birth to me, and my aunt told me he never recovered from that because he blamed me for her dying. It hurt a lot as a kid that at family events, he would ignore my existence. When I was a little older, he got more vocal about me killing her, and he can't stand to look at my face. You can imagine the amount of therapy that put me in. I used to go to church crying because I was scared about going to hell for doing that to my mom. That's how much his words fucked me up. But the shitty part was that I never stopped trying to be accepted by him. After my high school graduation, he told me to never bother him again since he legally has no obligation to me anymore, since he was sending my aunt money to take care of me. Around that time is when I finally started accepting that reality, so from there we moved on with our lives. My aunt doesn't talk to me about him. Sometimes my grandparents do, and that's how I found out he got married. They were mad he didn't invite me to their wedding, but to me it didn't matter because we're not close. But it was his wife who wanted to meet me. It's the first time ever that he wants to make contact, and it was to pretty much say she wants me in their life. She doesn't know the real reason why we're estranged. He asked me to please not say anything, and maybe this could be a way to reconcile after all. But he was only doing it for her. That much was clear when we talked. I never said I would be. He still insisted on us meeting at their place because she really wanted to meet me. All she thinks is we were estranged for not getting along in my teenage years, going to college and losing touch because of life stuff. It pissed me off that he played it off as us just not talking for petty reasons. Meanwhile, the actual reason damaged me for years. I told her the truth. Everything he said to me, that he was never a parent to me, that was all my aunt. It was definitely a shock for her. The outcome was a disaster. Everyone has heard about this now. My grandma in particular told me she understands my anger. But this was his chance to find someone since losing my mom, and now it's been put in jeopardy. My dad is devastated. They think it was going too far to ruin his marriage that way when he was willing to include me in their lives, which could have been the start of our relationship. And they say not only did I ruin that, but also possibly wrecked his marriage. She just doesn't agree at all with what he did, and it could have been avoided if I didn't say anything. For me, it was hard not to tell the truth after the lies made it seem like it was nothing serious. I couldn't ignore what happened after what it did. IDK if it was the right call, since it put their whole marriage at risk after all. Am I wrong for telling her the truth? I am the oldest of 5 siblings, and I am a full-time student. I also have a part-time job in my field, but when I complete my degree, my employer will take me on full-time. I make enough from part-time to pay for school and put money aside. My siblings range from 20 to 10 years old. Both of our parents work full-time. I have taken on a lot of the responsibilities for keeping everything running in the house. I do the grocery shopping, the laundry, as well as making suppers and doing meal prep so everyone has lunches ready to take every day. I also get all my siblings to do their part with regards to household chores. For example, my youngest brother is responsible for feeding and walking the dogs. So I make sure that there is dog food in the storage and poop bags on the leash. My dad works very long hours and my mom works 5 at a hard job. Over Christmas, I had a chance to buy a PS5 for myself, so I did. The rest of my family is still using a shared PS4. I keep mine in my room and I do not share. My parents started fielding complaints from my oldest brother about how I made so much money and I don't share the things I buy for myself. Totally true. So they had a talk with me where they brought this up. I pointed out how much of the household work I did, and they said it wasn't fair that I was earning so much money without contributing. They told me how much they expected from me. I went to my room and did the math. If I gave them what they wanted, I would have about $800 a month left over. If I dropped a couple of classes next semester, I could go to almost full-time hours with my employer, and it would only be 1 more year until I graduated with my 2nd degree. But I could afford my own place, and I would have way more free time and disposable income. I packed up and moved out. Everything I owned fit in my car. I stayed at an Airbnb for 2 weeks until I could get everything sorted with an apartment, school, and work. It was great. I'm not gonna lie. I may have gone a little overboard on Tinder. I couldn't have women over to my parents' house. I just moved into my own apartment. I'm staying part-time until I finish this semester. I will work full-time over the summer and go to a lighter class load, higher work hours in the fall. My second oldest brother has been tasked by my parents to do everything I used to do. His chores have been split up with the other 3. They are all pissed at me for moving out. My parents are upset that I left them in the lurch. My siblings are mad that they all have more chores. My second oldest brother is especially salty because he has no free time to see his girlfriend, and she isn't allowed in the house when my parents aren't home. I'm enjoying my free time. I bought myself a plant from IKEA. I feel bad for screwing them all over, but it didn't make sense for me to do all that work and pay rent on top. Was it wrong of me to move out? My brother is a very hardworking man, and at 27, he is now very wealthy and doing well for himself. He's been with this girl for 6 months, and throughout the time we have gotten close because we both like hair, makeup, and shopping. I never knew there was anything wrong with their relationship except when she texted me last week saying she would love to hang out, but thinks it'll be inappropriate because she and my brother broke up. I asked her why, and she said she was sick and tired of auditioning to prove she was with him for the right reasons. She went on to say that my brother is paranoid she's after his money, so he would test her like leaving out his bank statements on their bed and getting upset when she picked it up, or going out to eat at high-end restaurants he requested to go to and leaving his wallet on home at purpose to make her pay the bill and prove she's not going out with him for money or never buying her gifts and questioning her when she asks why he doesn't. I was shocked, so I had to hear my brother's perspective. We spoke, and he told me everything she said was true, and that there's nothing wrong with making sure his girlfriend is with him for the right reasons. He said he left his bank statements on the bed and was peeking through the door to see if she would be curious, and when he saw her pick up the papers, he knew in his gut she was using him for his money, so he set up the restaurant idea to see if she would get upset at paying a $500 bill, which she was. I asked him if he thinks her being an elementary school teacher would have contributed to her being upset at a $500 bill at a restaurant he wanted to go to, and he said no. He said the straw that broke was when she asked him why he hasn't bought her a single gift since they've started dating. When she bought him a gaming console and new rims for his car, he knew she was just discreetly asking him to buy her an expensive gift. He confronted her and said he thinks she's with him for his money, so she said let me do us both a favor and dumped him and blocked him. He's upset about the gold-digging bitch, and when I laughed, he called me an asshole. He said I would never understand what it's like being a rich man and being used, and I get that concern. But I told him if he thinks any woman will be okay with his tests and auditions, he's delusional as hell. If he doesn't want to be used for his money, he should start dating people as wealthy as him, or leave lower-income people alone, if he's not going to be genuine in his relationships unless they pass his test. Am I in the wrong for what I told my brother? I'm 28 years old. I have a niece who is 16. She is my sister's only child. 2 years ago, I married a very wealthy man, and because of the pandemic, last Christmas was my first with my in-laws. My mother-in-law gifted me a coat that is worth more than $20,000. I saw her wearing it, asked her where she bought it, and she said that it will be my Christmas gift from her. I didn't know how much it was. I knew it was expensive, but I thought maybe $3,000 at most. I was visiting my sister last January when my niece saw it. She Googled the brand and showed me how much it really was. I won't lie, I didn't wear it after that because I was afraid of ruining it. Last week I wore it while visiting my sister. While I was putting it back on to leave, I felt something go splat on my back. Then my niece started cackling and the smell of paint hit me. I was so pissed off. While she was not apologetic at all, her mom screamed at her and said she was grounded. Then she said she will pay for the dry cleaning. While I was in my car, still in shock by the way, I got an alert that my niece posted a reel. It was of her doing a prank on me, and she said, "I'm going to hit my aunt's $20,000 coat with a paint-filled balloon to see how she reacts." I saved it on my phone, sent it to her mom, and told her that a week's grounding is not enough. She did not reply, but I saw that my niece took it down. It got less than 5 views by then. The next day I found out my coat could not be saved, so I called my sister and told her that her daughter has to pay it back. Well, we got into an argument and she said that they will not be paying for it, and if I wanted a new one, I should get my husband to buy it for me. I think that they should pay for it. They can afford to. In my opinion, they should sell my niece's car and pay me back my money. We did not reach an agreement, so I told her that I will be suing, and reminded her that I have video evidence that her daughter A did it on purpose for online clout and B knew exactly how expensive it was. People in my life are not objective at all. I have some calling me a jerk. Some say they are the jerks for not buying me a new one, and some are so obsessed with the price of the coat that they are calling me a jerk for simply owning it and wanting a new one. So, am I the jerk here? Our baby is 5 weeks old. He doesn't sleep through the night yet. Wife and I split times to wake up and nurse him back to sleep. She's a stay-at-home mom while I work in retail from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Wife was feeling a bit sick. She had a cold the other day, so I offered to take care of our son for the night so she could sleep well and get better. We did just that. I woke up every time to take care of the baby during the night. The next morning I was wasted but still had to go to work. I managed it but was exhausted and desperately needed a nap. Usually when I come home, I take over the baby duties since she has been taking care of him alone the whole day, but this time I was exhausted. So instead I took a quick shower and went to sleep. I slept for around 1.5 hours and woke up when dinner was ready. She told me off for going napping instead of helping her. I explained how tired I was, and she told me that I shouldn't have offered to do all the baby care the night before if I was going to be a crybaby the next day. She also said that she had to do all of the household work, so she was exhausted as well. We split the baby care as usual that night too. She's still upset. I think she's been unfair because I meant to help her feel better when I offered to take over the night, and it was obvious I was going to be tired the next day. I don't think I was an a-hole here, was I? We had a family dinner this evening. My family has 4 kids in total. Me, my elder sister who is 29, younger sister 24, and youngest brother 22. Extended family attended our family dinner. So did all of our significant others, our cousins, aunts and uncles, etc. During the dinner, my elder sister and youngest brother got into a mild disagreement. My sister seemed to be coming across as very aggressive out of frustration and losing said argument. The two of them were too absorbed in their argument to realize the rest of us were getting a bit fed up. Eventually, my sister got really fed up and said, "Shut up. I'm not going to argue with a 22-year-old virgin." My brother hadn't done any personal attacks up until that point. It was completely unprovoked. I think it might have been the alcohol, as my sister is a mean drunk. Anyway, I immediately told my sister to grow up and that she was making an embarrassment of herself. She replied by saying everyone knows he's a virgin and she didn't say anything wrong. This annoyed me as my bro definitely has confidence issues and doesn't need to be made fun of like this. So I responded by saying how she slept with well over 100 men while she was in college, and that since everyone in the family knows this, it's not a big deal, right? Turns out her husband didn't know this amazingly. I genuinely assumed he must have known. He left the party angrily saying my sister misled him about her past. Family is blaming me for their marital problems. I refuse to accept I did anything wrong. My sister bullied my brother in front of everyone. All I did was give her a taste of her own medicine. Did I go too far, or was I in the right? If you're enjoying our content, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more. By subscribing, you'll never miss out on new videos, and you'll be helping support our channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.